Okay, hey everybody, we're back, and what we wanted to do today is we had showed before about sort of fitting the neck to the body and making sure everything's in a good spot before you go through with painting it, so you don't end up having to do woodworking after you've done your paint job. So I figured we needed to do this again, so we're going to go a little bit further this time with the neck fitting, and we'll even line up the trim, the Floyd Rose. The Floyd still isn't here yet, but we can continue on anyway. That's fine. There's plenty more to do. All right, so I have the neck that we were working on yesterday. I put the Floyd nut on there just to see how it all fit. Everything's looking pretty good. We got our back contoured asymmetrically. And now I've done some pre-fitting to make sure that this neck fits, and it does. So we're going to just go ahead and press it in. It's a tight fit. Like I said before, I like the necks to fit in there kind of tight, so there's no lateral movement that can, make the guitar go out of tune if you kind of bump it, or if you kind of, are a little bit rough with the guitar while you're playing it. It shouldn't be too tight. Like we had said before, wood tends to want to expand and contract, and different woods will do that at different rates. So being that you've got poplar and maple, you probably want to be able to give yourself a little bit of margin for expansion and contraction. That's not to say that you want it loose. You still want it tight, but you don't want it where you're hearing it creaking while you're going in, which is where it's at now. So we're still going to sand a little bit of the pocket out on the sides, and we're going to use, like we said before, this sheet of polycarbonate with some 120 on it and just get in there and sand it. So anyway, we've got the neck set in there. So now we want to once again determine where the center line is, because sometimes that changes from neck to neck. So to do that, what we've got here is our ruler. Make sure you got a good one that's not, warped, or that's going to screw you all up. But what you want to do basically is place the ruler up against the edge of the neck here, hold it in place, press down with your other hand, and then mark a line between the tremolo cavity and the humbucker route. Take the same side of the ruler, flip it over. That'll make sure that your error is similar if there is any variance to the ruler itself. Hold down your ruler again, make yourself your line, and you'll have now two lines here. What you want to do then is you want to find the center between those two lines, and how I do that is you could sit there and you could measure between the two, and then you could take out your calculator, or if you're good with math, do it in your head and figure out what half of that is, and then measure from here to here to here to here. And you know what? That is just ridiculous. So what I always do is I just take advantage of the incremental nature of a ruler. And what I do is I tend to set the ruler on the body with a hole number about where I think, from my own eye, the center actually is between these two lines. And then I'll go 1 inch in either direction to the next whole number, so that's 2 and 4. And what you won't do then is kind of take this line and position your ruler, the two edge lines here that you made from the neck, and position your ruler so that the distance past the two next whole numbers, as in to the left side of the second inch of the 2 inch mark, and to the right side of the 4 inch mark, have the same distance between them. And when they do, you found your center line. You would mark it, go down a little bit further, mark it again, and then connect the two lines with your ruler. And now that is your center line. And that'll make sure that, when you're setting your trem down and putting your trem on this guitar, that it's going to be in line with the neck, and that you're not going to have an issue with the strings being biased towards one side or the other. You'll find that the two middle strings will sit over the dots, the fret dots, position dots, perfectly. So a lot of guitars you'll see those two strings biased a little bit, and it looks crooked, and it doesn't play as well. And especially if you're trying to make a thin neck, in terms of that's not very wide, you got to be dead sure that you're in the middle here, so you don't end up with the strings actually falling off the edges of the fretboard itself. All right, so now you have your center line. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is determine where the Floyd Rose posts are going to be. And on this, we're going to be using an old style vintage Floyd Rose with the wood screws. And we're going to be using an original Floyd Rose from the 80s off of an 80s Kramer guitar. So basically what I've found works for me in terms of intonating on this particular guitar, on a 5150 made from my templates. Yours might vary, but 17-30 seconds from the end of the tremolo route indicates the line at which I want to put my posts in. So what I do then is I draw 17-30 seconds out, mark it on the line, create a little hash there, do the same thing here, and then connect the two dots that I've marked and draw a center line across there. Now that'll give me the line at which I want the posts to be on, and that'll keep the tremolo in the right position as it relates to intonation forward and backward, and make sure that your post holes are in a place that the tremolo will accept for movement, and so forth and so on. All right, so now what we want to do now is determine where the post holes are. All right, so to do that, what you want to have is a ruler that has millimeters on it. Okay, so the standard original Floyd Rose tremolo has a distance between the posts of 74 millimeters. So that would mean that you would want what on each side? You would want 37, right? That will give you on either side 37 millimeters from the center line to each post. So you take your ruler that has the increments on it, and what you're going to do is you're basically going to line up. So what I do basically is I find 37 on the ruler itself. Okay, so I bring 37 and I put that 37 right on my center line. Okay, so there we have right on the center line 37. All right, then it's just simply 0, right? 0 here, and then 74. And that will give you 74 inches, 74 millimeters between the two posts exactly. And then you can drill yourself a small pilot hole. I don't, like I said before, I don't like to drill the posts for the Floyd Rose before I do the finishing, because I'm kind of maybe OCD. I like that hole to be clear of any paint and very crisp and clear. So what I usually do is I'll mark it with a sharp, like a scribe or an awl, and then drill it with something, you know, like a 32nd or whatever, 16th inch drill bit. 16th will work, down to a depth of maybe a 1/4 inch or so, and that'll have my location for the bridge post holes after I finish painting the guitar, and I can just use a Forstner bit or a good wood bit that'll just have a brad point on it and center on that 16th inch drill hole, and then I can start my holes. And we'll go into the actual drill bits that you want to use, because they're actually letter bits that you're going to be using, a letter I bit and then another bit. Okay, so that's basically how you want to set up your Floyd Rose, or set up your guitar for accepting the Floyd Rose. So I think that's good for today. I'm going to go ahead and just pin prick these holes and maybe drill them out. And I'll see you guys next time.